Hi there and welcome to another Advent YouTube Live. If you're watching on catch up, then just scroll through 3 minutes where we will start. And if you are here watching live, I will be back in 3 minutes. Well. Greetings from Vancouver, Jane. Lovely to see you. Helen Williams. Hi. Tim, Phil, Jeanette, Paula, everybody. We're here. We're here and we're still going. So I hope my news of my positive COVID test helps to explain why last week I was talking about May in the Hanger so much and such things. Thank you all for your very kind words. I'm feeling quite a lot better, though it does come and go. And for your prayers, for those of you who are praying for me, I'm just really hoping it doesn't fully reboot my long COVID. That's what I'm really praying about. And as just a general aside, before we continue, if you ever get worried about me, and I know some people do, I absolutely promise you that I will not ever push myself beyond my physical limits. I will not be a martyr to the cause. If I can't do it, I won't do it, and I will let you know when it comes to reflections and things like that. So please, please, please rest assured. But this gives me such great joy and such great energies, both the series and these moments on YouTube, that it makes everything so worth it. And it is now just after 4:30. It is Friday, and so it is very much time for the final YouTube Advent Live of 2021. You are so welcome wherever you are in the world. I hope you've got something, a glass of a cup of something warming, or a glass of something festive, and I hope that you are able to settle in just for the next 20 minutes or so, to gather up the week, to catch your breath, to meet with others through the chat, and just to lean back into the wonders of Advent. What a season it is. This is my last day of isolation. Hooray. And I'm very much looking forward again to a few simple pleasures like having a walk round the block, or giving my family a nice big hug, or driving out perhaps to Stockbridge Down in Hampshire to watch the sun set, maybe on the solstice. I'm looking forward to that. So I would love to hear from you just as we begin. What simple pleasures, what have you been doing this week that has in particular brought joy to your soul? Maybe something that you might otherwise take for granted until you're locked down or put in isolation or whatever, but something that has brought deep joy to your soul in a simple way. Please just share in the chat. It would be lovely to just to see what's been going on for you and take our temperature and to give thanks. And if you can't share in the chat, don't worry, just speak something out, and enjoy seeing what other people are writing as well. A run in the morning sunshine. Wonderful. Thanks, Darren. Daryl, I'm jealous. Doing some flower arranging, beautiful walk in the woods with a friend this morning. Putting up the Christmas tree and lights. We've got that to look forward to later. Wrapping Christmas presents. Walking your 8-month puppy. Wow. Taking a photo of the sunrise. Singing in a Christmas concert. First in 2 years. Unbelievably joyful. Well played, Jean. That's wonderful. Sewing and painting. Walking in fresh snow while visiting your sister, Linda. Again, jealous. Fantastic. Keep those coming. Please keep those coming. It's just brilliant to give thanks, isn't it? And to remember what we already have, the gifts that we already have. I remember the words of Andrew Biankowski, who says that if we are in a position to take anything for granted, then we already are blessed beyond our means. Fantastic. Thank you so much for all your amazing RSVP responses over this last week. I hope you've had a chance to see some of them, and there's been such lovely creativity, so many that are very touching and moving. And I wanted to share one that really touched me and kind of, I thought, in a way, helped to distill the essence of some of the stuff that we've been thinking about. Sue Hollywell, I don't know if you're watching. I haven't had a chance to ask you. It's been a bit mad again this afternoon here. But I'm going to read your poem. I hope that's all right. Sue wrote a lovely poem that's on the RSVP, and she actually, it was Sue who shared a beautiful poem about a blackbird back in Lent that you might remember. But her poem is called Perforation. It's on the RSVP page, but I thought it'd be really nice to share it with you now. Looking into the gaps, the holes, the missing pieces, and endless striving in my mind to fill them. I don't know how. So I leave them there, the gaps, the holes, the missing pieces. I am a perforated person. Let the inner light shine out. Let the glow of imperfection bring warmth like a brazier in the bitter street for hands to gather over. Some missing pieces I long to retrieve, to find, to replace, to repair the holes. They're lost or long ago relinquished. I learn to live with the perforations, the gaps, the holes, the missing pieces. I notice where the structure of my soul holds together, still standing, a firm footing, a sense of fun, curiosity, creativity, embracing presence, wonder, silence, peace. Amazing. I think the thing that warms my heart almost more than anything with these series is when people respond creatively, because so often in our church communities we don't get the invitation to kind of unleash our creativity, and yet actually, you know, being made in the image of the creator God, there is just a wellspring within us. Even if you feel you're not creative, there will be things that you do in your way that nobody else does in quite that way. And when you express it, you just help to give a glimpse of something different, something divine from a different angle. So thank you all, and thank you, Sue. And why don't we light a candle? Why do people put spent matches back in boxes? I live in a family of 5, and I won't be naming names, but it happens. And I light this candle, and we simply remember today that the light shines out through our perforations, and we remember that this light is the light of God. Yeah, and thanks, Mick, remembering Leonard Cohen's forget your perfect offering, there is a crack in everything. So we light the candle, and that's how the light gets in. The Leonard Cohen song goes, light a candle and remember that the light shines out through our perforations today. Why don't you, if you would like, just pop the name of anyone who you know of who's perhaps feeling badly perforated, but whose light still reaches and blesses you. You know, you will know of someone who has holes and missing pieces, yet somehow the light of God's love just shines from them and touches your face. Would you just put a name in the chat as I pop the candle up? Jane, Sue and Jean, George, Susie, Catherine, Wendy and John, Sue H, Lee, Wendy, Audrey, Cheryl, Kurt, Pam, Ali, Debbie, Jill, and so many more of those people that we know who bring light even within the holes and the missing pieces. And wow, it feels as though that's been a bit of a theme just running through our Advent reflections this year. Keep those names coming. How moving is that? Thank you. Finton, Tom and Margaret, June, Esme, Thomas, Rachel. I'll say a Rachel too. Why don't we pause for a moment? Keep those names coming, but you might like to close your eyes. And why don't we use the breathing exercise that I suggested this week? It's with that line, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." So you might like to close your eyes. Just take some nice breaths in. Remember to breathe through your nose if you can. It's so much better for us when we do, for all sorts of different reasons. And relax your shoulders. Just try to settle into this space. It might be that you've come to this space today with all sorts of stuff buzzing around your mind. That's okay. Just kind of smile at any thoughts that gatecrash your consciousness, and just come and sit in absolute openness to God and God's presence within this moment. Not trying to get anything from God, but just bringing your presence to meet God's presence in this moment. And if you remember, we talked about that exercise that suggests that you recollect your mind. In other words, just what's in your mind. And if we put in our mind that wonderful phrase, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and then kind of in that contemplative breath prayer that goes all the way back to St. Gregory of Palamas, breathing in and just allowing that line to be carried down with the breath into our lungs, blood and heart, and into our whole self. So just taking a nice breath in, just breathing in, "The Lord is my shepherd," and then breathe out. And then a nice deep breath in through the nose, "I shall not want." And just imagining those words being carried down on your breath, right into the very center of you now. Let's just do that a few times through on the in-breath. "The Lord is my shepherd." "I shall not want." "The Lord is my shepherd." "I shall not want." Just for a moment, just inviting what Henri Nouwen describes so beautifully as the shepherding presence of God at the very center of your being. And as we do that, I invite the shepherding presence of God into the center of the very being of this beautiful community, have been dispersed across east and west, north and south, but joined in the love of God, held in the love of God, and inviting now the shepherding presence of God at the center of our being. And just please do try and just stay in that really peaceful, assured place now as I just take us through a gathering up of the reflections. I hope that you find this process helpful. I know that in a busy world, we kind of tend to read something, think that's really interesting, and often it can just kind of fall through our fingers. I always find it helpful for myself to go back over at the end of the week where we've been, because at the beginning of the week, I have no idea where the week will take us. So on Monday, there's an amazing bright star in the southwest of the sky. Is it a star or a planet? Venus, Jupiter and Saturn are all in a line at the moment. And I've gone a bit quiet on the stars this week because it's been so cloudy. But actually, if it's out there now, then that's really, really beautiful. And after this, you should go outside and just behold the stars. But there's 3 planets in a line at the moment towards the southwest, Deb. So that's what it is. So on Monday we paused in the spirit of Havdalah, that Jewish observance that happens at the end of the Jewish Shabbat. And we did that on Monday morning, just thinking, actually, what a good way to think about moving from rest into work, this sort of holy pause, a threshold moment, to think of the creative fire that we take into the week, the candle, and the fragrance of God's rest, which is symbolized in the Havdalah ceremony with spices, and the festivity, which brings a sense of holy joy to the rhythm of the working week. I love the idea that the work of creation didn't finish in that first week in Genesis, but continues with God's invitation for us to participate in the ongoing work of creation. And I asked the question, what kind of world can I help to create with God this week? So I hope that you've been noticing times and places where you've been involved in that sense of co-creating a world, or at least the world around you. And it might be that you might like to set your alarm for Sunday night to look for 3 stars in the sky. I mean, there you go. You might have 3 planets in the sky, but the Jewish people end the Sabbath. It ends when you can see the first 3 stars in the sky. It's that time of Ben Hashmashot. But if you step out, you might like to just step out at the end of our kind of day of Sabbath rest Sunday, and stand out there and just prepare your heart for the week. And you might like to light a candle and really pause before stepping into the flow of the week. It might help you to do that more mindfully and soulfully. On Tuesday, we touched on the shepherding presence of God, didn't we? Henri Nouwen's lovely phrase, which we've just been kind of working with now, and that movement from the head to the heart. We remembered that David had been a shepherd near Bethlehem, which I think is just one of those lovely details. It's easy to forget, and knew what it meant to lead his sheep beside still waters. And for me, it felt very moving to consider all the people who have just absolutely taken Psalm 23 into their hearts. You know, I had a note from somebody this week who the day before I wrote that reflection had been for a big MRI scan and taken those words on their breath into the MRI scanner. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And it really is as if humanity has kind of breathed those deeply into the center of its being, isn't it? And I love to think of how the shepherds came to Bethlehem to bend their knee at the manger of the Lamb of God. It's all so crazily poetic, isn't it? It's beautiful. On Wednesday, we thought about pain, didn't we? And there's so much out there at the moment, certainly that I've come across, and I'm sure probably that you've come across as well. And there's pain in the culture and society, and certainly in our country, and probably yours if you're not in the UK. And we borrowed from Pema Chodron's words: only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. And we really celebrated those people who have sat in darkness with us. And I hope it encouraged you to think about how you can sit in darkness with others when you know your own darkness well. I mentioned drawing from Alfred Delp, who had been in prison in 1944 for opposing the Nazis, and who said, even though he kind of must have known that his days were really numbered, he said, even through darkness and distress, we are created for joy, for a life that knows itself blessed and touched at its deepest center by God himself. The dear Christ enters in. We're met in our pain by the one who came in darkness and whose final darkest moments he met with outstretched arms of love. He is the treasure in our darkness, and we meet him there in ours. On Thursday, we thought about the Trinity via the Beatles. I hope you watched the trailer and enjoyed seeing that kind of creativity flow through that. And we thought about three little things: making space in our schedule to be offline or analog, so that we can notice and intuit those moments of creativity that come. You know, those moments that come from left field, or connection with God. And how actually it's probably just really, really helpful to switch off as much as we can as we tune in. We thought about reclaiming the stories we tell about ourselves and others, remembering that Paul McCartney has only recently, since he's seen all that footage, realized that what he really did think had happened really did, and that the stories that were told about that time were distorted, that there was love and skill there and not the acrimony. And then finally, finding our flow with the creative community of the Trinity through our friendship with Jesus, who we wait for in Advent. And today, the presence on the threshold, this lovely observation from Jane Williams, that Jesus reaches out to us for hospitality first, takes the humble, heartfelt thing we give him and transforms it, uses it and transforms it, uses it and transforms it into this beautiful flow of God's resources. I wonder what your cup of water, your loaves and fishes represent, kind of that small, humble thing that you can give, be released from the massive, perfect offering, the small, humble, heartfelt touch. And I personally, I find it really poignant to think of welcoming that luminous presence on the threshold. You know, Holman Hunt's beautiful painting, thinking of that threshold, lingering on the presence, lingering on the threshold, and thinking about welcoming that. But when we are back ourselves with Omicron to worrying about whether we really can invite people into our homes or not, across our threshold, we're kind of back into that zone, aren't we? So perhaps tonight we can just think about reaching out in a welcome that goes beyond that immediate physical stepping over the threshold. And I do so love this sense that at Christmas time in particular, we welcome Jesus into the heart of it all by offering a welcome to those who are on the threshold. Perhaps there's someone you can reconnect with, reach out to this year, forgive, or just seek some kind of connection or reach out to in help, or whatever it is, just kind of offering that and receiving the welcome from God within that into something much, much bigger and more beautiful. Anyway, so I believe that in God's grace this week, we have been given just enough light for the next step, as Henri says, Henri Nouwen. What have you drawn from this week, whether it's from the reflections themselves or just anything that's been happening this week? I'd love to invite you just in these last few moments to write something in the chat if you're able to. That just distills the essence for you, just a word or a phrase or a sentence at most that distills the essence of something that may last for you from this week. I'll give you a few seconds to think and write. Oh, thank you. Walking through Advent rather than just rushing through. Colour in the grey. Thanks, Coral. Knocking on the door, light in the darkness, redemption. The presence of this group together in heart. Thanks, Kieran in Dublin there. Loads of love to you. Savour the present, the essence of his presence in a difficult emotional week. Thank you, Sylvia. Lots of you who have told me that there's pain, and just holding on to connecting with that presence this week is amazing, isn't it? Calmness, the threshold. I shall not want, with the shepherd of my soul. Deb, thank you. Together with God, the treasures of darkness. How street lights become hazy moons on a cloudy night. Very poetic, Coral. Thank you. Thank you. Trying to be rather than do. Get back to where you once belonged. Lovely. Growing hope even as it gets darker. Just keep those coming. But why don't we, remembering that we started nearly 2 years ago now in lockdown, by saying the Lord's Prayer together on YouTube, let us say the Lord's Prayer now together. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. 2 brief final thoughts. Thank you for wonderful comments all coming up there. This is so lovely. Thank you. Neil Perry, you are very much with the band. Excuse me. Okay, so Kathleen Norris has got a thought for any of us who are feeling a little bit guilty that we haven't been keeping up with the reflections, or haven't been quite as creative or pious as other people, or whatever it is. You know, this Advent series is not about making you feel guilty for not doing the stuff. It's about lifting a burden, tuning back in to the one who lifts our burden. So Kathleen Norris says this: we are so exhausted. How is it possible to bridge the gap between our sorry reality and the glad, grateful recognition of the incarnation as the mainstay of our faith? How is it possible to bridge that gap? We might begin, she says, by acknowledging that if we have neglected the spiritual call of Advent for yet another year, and have allowed ourselves to become thoroughly frazzled by December the 24th, all is not lost. We are, in fact, in very good shape for Christmas. It is precisely because we are weary and poor in spirit that God can touch us with hope. Please be encouraged. Please be encouraged. And let me read one final prayer from John Henry Cardinal Newman, which is lovely. Lead, kindly light, amid the circling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark, and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step enough for me. Be encouraged. I will be back tomorrow with the next reflection. The last email will be on Thursday. That will be your 20th reflection, and it will give me time to start my Christmas shopping on the 23rd of December. And so, to paraphrase Sue's brilliant words from the start, may we let the glow of our imperfection bring warmth like a brazier. And may we who are feeling perforated this Advent, let our inner light shine out. May it be so. Peace be with you. And when it comes to it, a very, very, very happy Christmas. L'chaim. Bless you. Go well.